Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mamluks podcast. My name is Sim. Along with me are my co-hosts, Shaykh Amir, Mahin, and Mort.
Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome everyone. It's been a long time since we saw you guys. It's been Ramadan break. Sheikh, did you enjoy yourself?
This Ramadan was probably one of the best Ramadans I've ever had in my life, bro.
Yeah?
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, man. It was great.
Tell us about it.
It was great. Man. Right from the a few days before, it was, I think a lot of it has to do with a protocol that you start with your family, just in preparation for Ramadan, which I never did before.
Like a regimen?
Yeah, like a regimen, like we, I think I told you guys this before, even before Ramadan, like we started a consistent 15 minutes of Quran every day, like a few months before Ramadan. And then the month before Ramadan, we had like a 20-minute every day, and then in Ramadan, 30 minutes every day.
What 20 minutes?
20 minutes of reading Quran.
Okay.
But it's just that preparation. You start understanding. But there's just a lot of beautiful things that happened this Ramadan, man. Just the Quran was different. It was good to be back in the masjids again.
Wait, why was the Quran different?
It just I think there's when and I don't want to bore you guys, man, but you asked.
Please.
No, I really think that it has to do with just a favor from Allah, man. It's there's certain times in your life which are really, really crucial. And I think this really, really comes back to the age of 40. And I really, really believe that if you cherish the age of 40, because Rasulullah told us that that's the age where, where Allah gives you the capability of the most potential that you have. Yeah. At that age, of everything builds up. The intellect of the human being is complete. I really, really believe that. I think that there's a different type of maturity that happened for me this year, but in Ramadan, I felt like this Ramadan, it brought all of everything that I ever did and attained, whether it be physically, mentally, Islamically, it all came together this one Ramadan, and it's unexplainable, to be honest with you, and I'm not just making that up. It was relationships were very different this Ramadan for me. The feeling of Ramadan, of shaitan, Iblis not being there and chained up, and the day that it was a release, I never actually missed Ramadan until like a week after. But as soon as the next day of Ramadan, I literally missed Ramadan, it's crazy. But this Ramadan was very different, man. I loved it very much. And, we ask Allah to accept all of our actions, of whatever we did.
Well, what's something that you came back with in terms of you feel like you're going to retain this for maybe the next few months, or maybe the remainder of the year, or your whole life? Is there some...
I don't know. I think that's a very, very general question. I know what you mean by that. There's a lot of, I think, a lot of things that people benefit from, but you understand how making habits, number one, is extremely important in Ramadan. They say it takes 30 days to build a habit. And I firmly, firmly believe that Allah gives us this Ramadan to build new habits. Yeah. And I've built new habits. One of them just really, really emphasizing Quran on a daily basis. The other is that, do you remember before Ramadan we were talking about sending salutations on Rasulullah, sending salams on Rasulullah?
Yeah, you said to preface a lot of your du'as before.
Yes, sir.
Before you make dua, sure you send salutations on the Prophet.
You're right. And I just felt like this Ramadan is something that solidified that very much for me and my family. And that it actually is very, very true. The more salam you send on Rasulullah, the more love that grows. Because when you're immature, you think you love Rasulullah the most you can. But then something happens to you in your life, and then you end up sending... It was just as simple as sending more salutations and more salams on him to grow love even more,
That's something I really incorporate in my worship. The salutation, as you reminded me, I prefaced all my du'as.
That's beautiful, man. Alhamdulillah, bro. Just keep us in your du'as, man, I hope it was because of me, because I want to be a little greedy, but
no, it was because of you.
No, alhamdulillah. Then the other thing is that
finally,
I started with
something productive.
Finally, yeah. The other thing is, I started at ICW this year, and I had the honor and privilege of praying behind Sheikh Ibrahim Dardasawi, and his recitation of the Quran really changed my Ramadan this year, because there's so many verses that I would hear other reciters recite, but praying behind him, there's like a whole different element that was added to it that required me in this Ramadan. Actually, the number one takeaway is I realized how much of a slacker I was, and how much I actually have to review and keep continuing that studying going of Islamic knowledge, because in past 5 years I've just been a major slacker.
I mean, we've been telling you that for years. I don't know why
Yeah.
you just realize it now.
Yeah, I mean, I like, man, everything happens for a reason.
When's the last
right?
time you saw Sheikh Muhammad Ali Man?
It's been a while.
What do you
It's
mean,
been
like a couple years?
No, it hasn't been a couple of years. It's been like 3 months.
3 months?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
all
been
right.
like
That's
3
not
months.
bad. Okay,
Yeah.
I underestimated you a little bit.
No,
I thought you
did.
hadn't seen him in 3 years.
No. Astaghfirullah, I couldn't do that. He's one of my teachers in Chicago. But the other thing is that I've become a lot more consistent of revision and studying, and you develop a certain type of wisdom, you know. And I'm obviously I'm very thankful to Allah for that.
So
I mean,
are we
Ramadan is
gonna
beautiful.
expect like refutations from you now because you've been studying again?
No, it's not all right. No, it's actually it has nothing with reputations. It make you realize how many holes you had, and how deficient you were. You know what I'm saying? It's a part of growth, man. It's I just felt like there was a lot of growth this Ramadan.
Do you
It
have a
was
favorite
beautiful.
book in like Islamic study, like a text, like a matan? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
What's
It depends on your week and your
what do
mood.
you think your favorite area of study is when it comes to?
Fiqh in Arabic language, hands down. Yeah, for sure. Because it ties everything in, right? How you're supposed to look. People very much undermine. Like, I'll give you guys a crazy example, right? There was a brother who came to me in. It may have been like a day before Ramadan or the first 2 days of Ramadan, and I was talking to him in the masjid, in the court, by the entrance area, and he was telling me, "Oh, assalamu alaikum, I haven't seen you in a long time. Man, what are we gonna do about this garbage idea about calculations of what's happening to Muslims, right?" And he's a very respectable brother. Most people say that kind of stuff. I just like whatever, yeah, whatever, you know. I don't engage in that conversation because it's pointless, right? And I was really tired too. But this brother, I was like, man, there's no way this guy can have this type of information. So me and him, we were kind of just going back and forth, and there's a realization that I came to is he said, okay, well, tell me of some people in the past in Islamic history that have, and then I can, weigh out what's right and wrong. And in my mind, I was like, that's not really your job,
Oh.
right? Hear me out. Like, he's like, I want to weigh out the evidences. By the way, it's going to be an all English medium, right? And he said, I want to weigh out the evidence, see what's right.
English medium.
So what made me realize is that the question I asked him, I was just drawn to ask him. This is the first week of Ramadan now. I'm talking to him while I'm at a tire shop on the phone. And I said, what are you going to do with this information once you find out what's right or wrong? Right? Like, to me, I was like, how is he going to come to a conclusion what's right or wrong?
Yeah.
Like,
So
You
you're
know-
saying just because someone in the past has a ruling, whether for or whether it exists or not,
yes, which it did exist, yes.
that doesn't necessarily add weight.
No, it does add weight.
No, but
Okay.
he can't deduce a ruling from that.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
what is it going to do for him?
Yeah, what's his
And what's he
methodology?
going to do with the knowledge? What's
Yeah.
his usul in the first place?
Right. What dude? Like, so dude's English speaking only, right?
Yeah.
And how is he gonna weigh these evidences? Like,
Like, I could
And
tell
not
you
even-
something's a hadith and a sahih. How are you going to know?
Okay, I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah.
And what are you going to do with it? And the other thing is, just because the hadith is sahih, it doesn't mean outwardly what you see is how you act upon it.
Right.
Yeah.
The sharh has not.
Right?
I mean, yeah. But you know, one thing I was gonna say though, is that one thing I've learned in its recent like years is that a lot of people feel like they'll say, "Oh, my opinion on this matter is this," or "I take this opinion," or whatever. And I've come to realize that it doesn't really matter. Why does what you consider to be a valid opinion even matter?
Yeah.
Right?
No,
I mean,
I
like, who like if I come and say, "Oh, I take the opinion of this," okay, well, what is that? How is that any authority?
Yeah. Authority is the key here. Authority is key because this brother, he's like, yeah, I'm going to weigh out what's right and wrong. And I'm thinking in my mind. And I usually don't talk to this like people. And I was like, dude, like, he's older than me. And I said, who are you to know what's right and wrong just because you read this translation of calculation? And the reason I'm talking about this fiqh, ask me what my favorite thing was this fiqh, my favorite area to specialize in or just read about, is because this individual will think that just because he has and he's able to weigh and whatever he's using, he thinks he knows what's right now. But in reality, the human being, that the layperson, and I include myself in that, is we're all followers of an ijtihad or of a scholar, right? This person's not going to be able to take this. Like, I almost thought that as like like how arrogant is this guy? But then I'm thinking like, dude, a majority of people think like this, right? And then I said to him, I said, what are you going to do with it? Like, once you know. He's like, well, then I know what's right. I was like, but how do you actually know? So you're not going to know. Like, just give me 1 second. I was like, who? I asked him, like, well, what have you done to understand, to know for sure if it's right or wrong, right? Because he was like convinced that he's going to know the truth. He's going to share it with all of his friends, right? Yeah. So for me, the reason why fiqh is very, very important is it's a preservation of authority in Islamic knowledge. Is it has to go through a certain type of filter, and that filter is dispersed based on people who specialize, who've been recognized by giants of the Islamic jurisprudence of their era that have been given recognition. And then you start to realize, and there's a realization where I understood this Ramadan, is why before anybody talks about an opinion of a scholar, they always have this huge, sometimes even 50 pages of scholars talking about them, of their contemporaries, of basically how these people earned their stripes, right? And that really opens up a humongous door of you start being able to become mature and not get into fiqh debates and arguments, because whatever the person says, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I say, right? You have to actually go to the original source, and all people are followers, right? We can't be saved from that. So those things, like a bunch of those things start happening, and it gives you maturity, right? And that's why I think that, you have to have fiqh. You have to understand what your basic fara'id are, right? If you don't know what your basic fara'id are, and you're getting into debates into people about calculations and global versus local and stuff, and I was like who gave you the authority to speak about it? I'm not saying I'm not trying to be arrogant.
That's why Twitter's that's you probably want to go on Twitter.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's really toxic. But I'm not saying this out of arrogance, like I have the right to,
or WhatsApp.
But what I'm saying is like,
but I think you do compare to that guy.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
he asked me for a reason.
Yeah,
right?
no, I'm just saying.
No, he asked me for a reason, but I felt like, but he was a very like.
Yeah. So what the takeaway I get from that is that having access to information. This is what I've learned too from this, is that doesn't give you an answer.
It doesn't. That's a great observation.
There's a wisdom in sitting with scholars who can give you the meaning and contextualize the books that are written.
Yeah.
And I think that is a mistake that a lot of people make nowadays, because they have all of these books available to them on the internet. I mean, even more so for people who read Arabic. Like, they can go to a Maktaba Shamila and just pick up any book they want to read.
Yeah.
But I think that it's my opinion, for myself, that I wouldn't read any of these books if I didn't have someone to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah.
Meaning that you can read them, sure. I mean, the books are there, but to come to conclusions and to say, I know something now,
yeah,
it has to be validated by someone who has authority.
It is very enticing to do that.
Yeah,
because you're just being empowered now.
Right.
Right.
But I think that even, and I'm sure you know this more than anybody here, but reading something, maybe even coming across a hadith, the apparent value may seem like it's saying something, but when you rectify this with other hadith, and you would need a scholar who specializes or who's an expert in that field to help you come to the right, to give you all the pieces you need, including the ayat, including the rulings, including everything, the circumstances.
But even then, right, that's not going to give you a proper answer, and I'll tell you why, right? I don't want to make about this just like 2 more minutes, right? So the four or five people that I had the same conversation with about calculations and stuff, right? It made me realize something else too. It made me realize that a lot of times we're just researching a single topic in Islam, right? Because we have Google and we have all these amazing search engines and all these resources. And there's a gem that people are not able to attain because they didn't get a chance to sit with somebody to learn basics. Like you said, bounce ideas off. That's really important. But even before that, someone should have to, you start realizing the wisdom of them actually sitting down, keeping all of their ideas at the door, no matter what they've learned, and learning from a scholar, right? That has to take place. That has to take place, right? And after that, because with that, there's a certain culture that's built, and that culture will defend you. The culture of knowledge and sitting with scholars actually protects you from a lot of misunderstandings that people can bring to you about the Sharia, because that culture was there. So like just you're a part of a certain culture and you build a certain type of maturity towards it, even though you don't know all the specifications about it, but because you're a part of that culture, it actually gives you a certain type of respect and a certain type of paradigm, even though you don't know specifics about that knowledge.
You can recognize things.
You can recognize
easier.
things.
Like that may not. Wait, I mean, you can.
I may not know the answer, but that definitely doesn't seem right.
Doesn't seem that simple.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
and I get that, and I think that's an important point. But like we said earlier, that everybody has access to information, but not knowledge.
Yeah.
And I've come to know that knowledge is from people who are able to tie all the information together.
Yeah.
I think anyone who's sat with a scholar before and heard them speak on particular matters, you're blown away.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, oh man, I never considered these things.
Yeah.
And you can't. It's just impossible. If it's your part-time thing, if you think, hey, I'm just gonna go open a book to find out what we do for moon sighting, that's not how you approach fiqh.
Yeah.
Right? There's and this
Agreed.
is going back to the point with
Agreed.
the methodology. You know, when you build up with the methodology, and then it's like it's systematic. You don't just start opening up books of fiqh to find your opinion.
Yeah.
Right?
But
You
yeah,
come to that.
There's also the added element that when you read all these different opinions, you have to tie it to a specific experience or an event. Knowledge plus the real life experience is actual, like, equates to wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
You're right. Of course.
So when you can read all the books you want, but if you don't have the ability to tie the relevant pieces of knowledge that you've inherited
Yeah,
to the exact experience or event that's happening, then you're just a pile of books.
You're right. No, but you're right. You're a pile of books. Who's going to give you the context of those books?
Right.
That happens sadr on sadr, from chest to chest with the scholar, right? With somebody who you're under their tutelage. You can read lots of books, but how are you going to know how to behave with that knowledge, right?
Yeah.
I think that's really, really
So
important.
I think what you're saying is that every person not necessarily has to study to a certain level.
No, any person just has to go ask a scholar. You know what's asked of somebody who's not a faqih and not a jurist? You just go ask a person of knowledge, whatever he tells you, you follow.
But the problem is this: your brother asked this question. How do you know if the scholar you're following is right?
You don't need to know that.
Or if he's got a proper methodology? Because the problem is now what's happening is, okay, so tying into more current events, certain imams are saying things about like certain deceased people that it's okay to pray for them, etc., etc., adding confusion, and then they're getting checked by other mashayikh on social.
You're not going to know. You're not going to know if he's right or wrong.
You know what I'm saying? But
that's why it's dangerous.
So now, isn't the layperson their nafs is gonna gravitate towards the person that's gonna give them the opinion that feels
Of course they
more
are.
emotional too?
Of course, that's why the person of knowledge has to be very, very, very specific on when they say something, that they're very, very confident and sure of what they say. Because the layperson, they're never going to know what's right or wrong.
No, but what he's saying is, how do the layperson protect themselves from actually taking opinion from someone?
Because it seems
That's
like
what I'm saying. They're not going to be able to.
But I think the
That's why it
layperson-
comes back to the person of knowledge.
So does this tie into the hadith notion that among the first to enter the hellfire will be the ulama?
But not only that, the knowledge will disappear, not by its knowledge, but by the scholars themselves.
Right. So,
Right?
but I think but I think we're still not getting the question.
but
The question is,
Well,
like,
I'm definitely getting the
What's the
question.
practical for the layman? Because here's the thing, right? Like if I'm a layman, right? I'm not trying to be no alim, but there's got to be some kind of like systematic approach. I got to get the base level of learning, right?
Yes,
Agreed.
which you have
like,
to do.
like basic theology.
Yeah.
There's fard al-ain, right?
Yeah.
So
ooh, big word.
you know what I'm saying? So like the obligations of what I need to know in my day-to-day life, of marriage, of financial transactions, prayer, wudu. Like
Yeah.
people don't know this stuff, right?
Yeah.
You see cats doing wudu like all busted up, right? You know what I'm saying? So I think that's number one. So that requires studies. That's what I'm saying.
It does require
So
study.
it's not like you can't arbitrarily just like go willy-nilly, pick up Google and
Yeah, so
whatnot.
I think what what you could say is that, you know, there are shuyukh that are out there that have references from other shuyukh, right? Like you say, okay, this person, hey, I can study Bulugh al-Maram with this person, or I can study Maliki fiqh with this person, whatever, Hanafi fiqh. But they usually have and this is what I was talking about earlier with the brother today too, that this religion is a religion of isnad.
Yeah.
Some of the ulama used to say this because everything that we learn through the ijazat that are there, they had the sanad.
Yeah.
So there's a chain that's there. So unfortunately today people, and this is to what Mahim's saying, that unfortunately we've fallen in this trap where if someone's big on YouTube or famous or popular, like that's the person that we assume that he has knowledge, right? But traditionally what it's been is that hey, this person had to have ijazah. He has to be signed off by other people, and they'll say, okay, now he's a sheikh. He's an alim.
Yeah.
You can ask him. He has, and usually people would have to display that as credentials and say, hey, I have ijazah from so and so. This is what it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's why I'm gonna take it from you.
Yeah.
Right now, I think the problem is that like what he's saying is that anybody can pop open. Like, to be honest, if I grew my beard a couple more inches, I could probably open a YouTube channel and call myself sheikh, and nobody would even question it. Right? I mean, like that's just the unfortunate reality. So he's saying, how do you avoid that situation where you come across a fraudulent or person who's claiming to be
I
one?
understood. Yes, that was a great explanation. I completely understood. That's why I said, look, it's a lot more simpler than we think, but people think it's too simple that they don't want to do it. The first thing is, like you said, knowing your fard al-ain, meaning fard upon what's fard upon every single Muslim as an individual between them and Allah, right? There's a fard al-ain, right? So this individual, if they need to know their fard al-ain, which they have to, who are they getting their tutelage from? Don't tell me you're learning on your own. Which means, number one, you have to know your fard al-ain from somebody that's giving you a text of somebody who passed away and teaching you that book and making it simple for you, right? If you're not doing that, then don't cheat yourself. You're actually not doing what you're supposed to do as a Muslim, right? Originally, our fard al-ain, now let's say we can't do that, but as children, who do we learn our fard al-ain from? From our parents, right? And hoping that what they teach us is correct. Now, if somebody is taught only from their parents and they do something wrong, is that person held accountable? Of course they're not, right? So we have to take all these things into consideration.
But
right?
wait a minute. Would you say that's entirely, or don't they come of age where they have to, then they have the faculties to go and say, hey, listen, this is how I need to learn my deen? Like, isn't there some
I was
accountability
giving a
at that point?
hypothetical example. Yes, of course. But
Right.
the reason why the family structure in Islam is very, very important.
I see. Okay.
The reason why the family structure in Islam is very, very important is because there has to be a tutelage that occurs with the parents and the children about their fard al-ain, what's expected from them, how to prevent certain things from happening, right? And then the child obviously knows naturally, or the parents usually push. Like the beautiful thing is we have that thing with Qur'ans. Parents teach their kids Qur'an by way of a teacher, but the way they learn Qur'an and hifz, that has to take place with fiqh. So the first thing is that we learn in Islam is fiqh. That's the first thing we learn. And then if you want to grow in any other things and specialize in something, you do. But we can't avoid not knowing what fard al-ain is, right? So we have to be under somebody's tutelage. Now, you talked about like somebody can make up something. How do they know it's right or wrong? That's the dilemma. They're never going to know, which is why the people of knowledge have to be very, very careful about what they teach and what they say, right? And the whole thing about like, asking people for to do dua for somebody who passed away. And look, we have to be very, very honest with ourselves. And I know that the word appeasement is used and people don't like it, but how far are we going to get? And I'm not talking about this scholar specific.
Before we get there, I know you're going to talk about the issue, but I want to go back to what he's saying. What he's, I really want to know this genuinely. Like, what if there's a respectable scholar in your community who's saying, no, there's a difference between someone who is a disbeliever and someone who's a non-believer, and you can ask for mercy for someone, and he's legitimately trying to justify it. And then there's another scholar who comes out within the same community that says, no, actually we know from sources that you can't make dua for anyone, right? I mean, so what he's saying is that in this particular case, where does the layman go? Like, how did he know? Is it just based on what he feels like, who he trusts more, and then he just says, tawakkul ala Allah?
That's all he has to do. He has to just hope that what he's doing is correct to Allah. Because look, we're gonna have a huge following of people that come out with some wacky ideas, and people are gonna believe them because they're scholars, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the lay person is actually not in trouble for that. We have to understand that. They're not held accountable for that because they're actually following somebody who they believe with their full intention is a scholar.
But I think, that I think we understood. I think his question was, if someone's striving to find the best opinion to follow, how did
the problem is this, right? So most people are not going to be intellectually honest enough to like stick to one scholar itself. They're going to fatwa shop.
That's not. I mean, that's not the way to do it, right? You have to, at least for your fard al-ain.
Right.
Look, there's a purpose in building your culture, right?
Right.
So let's just say that somebody goes to Dar al-Qasim, right? And they're studying with Shaykh Amir. For instance, they're studying all the fard al-ain with him. They should try their best to stick with that individual until they understand the fard al-ain. I'm just giving Shaykh Amir as an example, right? Because everybody knows him, right?
Maybe your brother could take a note. He's asking like, who can I study with?
Yeah, that's
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's asking here, he's like, how do I know if the scholar is legit? All the scholars I talk to say they worship graves and stuff.
all. Well, he's got to know some other people. I don't think all the scholars. He's probably
Amir, you
exaggerating.
worship graves?
No, astaghfirullah, bro. So look,
Yeah.
there has to be maturity behind these questions too.
Right.
There's many scholars that are out there that don't worship graves. Okay, let's
Yeah.
be honest with ourselves.
I think it's safe to say that majority of ulama who are ulama do not engage in grave worship.
No, a majority of scholars, if they're actually really serious about the people around them, they'll just be very keen on teaching them things that they're going to be able to understand and not confuse the heck out of them. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I think
That's really a good point you made.
Well, to switch gears,
yeah. Let's switch gears.
Sims like, bump this topic, man. Let's move on.
yeah, yeah, we spent. a
He
bit
almost
of time.
fell asleep. Like, it's like drew down his face, man.
So, online, there's been an effort by some Muslims to give dawah to Elon.
Was that serious or was that a joke?
I think that was serious.
Well, no, it was serious.
Oh, yeah?
So Elon responded with, "Thank you for the blessing, but I'm okay with going to hell, if that is indeed my destination, since the vast majority of all human beings ever born will be there."
What was the comment that? Well, that was
Let me scroll up
prefaced
here.
this.
Here we go.
sorry.
So initially he wrote, "If I die under mysterious circumstances, it's been nice knowing you." And then a Muslim responds, named Muhammad, "You won't die before your day, Elon. Anyhow, you were a unique figure in this world. I'm only wondering one thing, as a genius, haven't you figured out that there is a great creator of this world yet? If you did, make sure you confess this before your last heartbeat. Bless you." So that's when he says, "Thank you for the blessing, but I'm okay with going to hell, if that is indeed my destination, since the vast majority of all human beings ever born there will be there." So I mean, there's so many different layers of this to unpack, because first, I don't like the way that this brother is kind of giving him dawah. It's kind of a lazy way of giving him dawah, even though he means well. And
I was going to mention that.
it's well intentioned and all that. And I'm sure the brother had the best of intentions, but it doesn't have effort behind it. And that's one of the biggest problems that we have among Muslims, is that we want to lazily do something that is.
But how is this lazy? I'm not getting the lazy
Okay,
part.
so listen, dawah is something, generally there's, you as Shaykh, that there's dawah to the public. People can just say anything and people can hear a general message. But when you're trying to reach out to somebody, dawah has to be
especially
personal.
someone of influence.
No, it has to be personal, right? Meaning that there has to be some relationship, right? First of all, what do? The Quran says you call them to what we agree, right? We bring them to what we agree on, common terms, and then we speak about the differences, right? We simply and to be honest, to be fair, what he's saying is that if you're really serious about giving dawah, don't make a tweet on Twitter about it without pretexting it or without actually trying to understand what his position is. What if Elon Musk now is just responding as a troll, as he does a lot of things, just because he wants to, just fire back because he thinks the guy's trying to bless him, and he maybe, who knows,
Yeah,
right?
it just strengthens them on their kufr or disbelief. They end up just now they put it out there on the in the public sphere what their belief is, and usually they end up digging their heels in and defending it,
Right.
and then they end up digging themselves into a deeper and deeper hole.
It's the arrogant thing.
Because that's how many of these people, especially when
But
you're
isn't that
online.
showing their colors? It's not like
I don't know if it's
isn't that
showing their
hidayah
col-
up to Allah. That's not really.
No, but I'm saying, but you're
No,
right.
I'm trying to understand
No,
the lazy
hidayah
effort.
is from Allah, but I mean, like, did he
The
quote a
lazy
single?
effort is just a tweet.
Wait.
bro.
Did he quote a single verse?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Did he say, "Hey, have you thought about this creator? Look what Allah says in the Quran to you.
Yeah.
Allah
Yeah.
loves you and He wants
I get
goodness
what
for
you're
His
saying.
servants."
I get what you're saying now.
Just saying bless you, not even saying Allah wants you to come close to Him,
Yeah.
right? Something
I see it.
make the dawah, like don't just drop a hint. Yani if
That's what you mean by that.
yeah, you drop hints when you talk to someone regularly, right?
Yeah.
Not just on a random tweet, and say believe, before you die.
Yeah.
What are you doing, bro?
Yeah.
Like, especially to a man who has intellect. A man like this, the Quran appeals to them in so many beautiful ways.
Yeah.
Given the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, given the story about appealing to the aql, the intellect, can you do this? Look at these things, look at the ayat of Allah. He doesn't mention any of that. Just saying this is not an effective, and the unfortunate reality is giving dawah this way, and I'm sure the brother didn't mean to do it this way, but giving it this way is counterproductive. You have people that dedicate their time and streams and hours and go to parks and they, systematically give dawah.
Yeah.
Right? There's a process. Dawah is not just a casual thing you do. If you're gonna do it, I personally view it as like, as a Muslim, if you do it wholeheartedly. And I tie it with the verse, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idkhulu fi silmi kafa. If you're gonna, just like if you're gonna enter completely. If you're gonna give dawah completely.
Yeah, man. There's
you
some
can't
people
give
that
half
go to Bible studies, to Alpha Bible studies, to.
No, there's an interesting other angle, because like I think one of our friends was telling us how he's giving dawah to his like coworkers, and he was like talking about like, I telling them about hellfire and stuff, and I'm like, yo, like. You're at work, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just can't be like,
die, die.
You're if you don't accept this, you'll go to hell. Like, that's how the Christians do it. These like evangelical types, they just be on a preaching like, you must repent for your sins. And cats are walking by just like, what are you talking about? Like, you seem like some like dog barking.
So my take it on those things. See, I believe the Quran. This is how I try to do the dawah. You talk about the comment, appeal to their intellect. First, agree that Allah is there. This is number one thing. Then you say, listen, you establish principles Allah establishes about himself. Can he be contradictory? Will he change his laws? Will he, ever degrade himself? You come to these conclusions, right? Then you remind him of the ayat in the Quran, which Allah talks about his majesty, his ability to create. And you give him verses and you say, listen, I'm very clear that the verse I give is that the only deen Allah recognizes is Islam, right? But then as you bring them to the Quran, let them read it. And then they will come across the verses that are harsh and soft, because Allah compliments each verse. Yeah. He won't talk about nar without talking about Jannah, right? He won't talk about adab without rahmah. Yeah. Right. So this is a complementary form. So the person, but bring them to be a honey trap. Give them the verses in the Quran that appeal to them. Bring them this way so they're interested. They're sparked. If you try to just simply,
Elon is a man of science. He's a man of space. There's so many ayahs related to the heavens and the stars and all the
mentions.
All the mentions of interstellar activities, or you're right. the nature of space. And you could talk to a man who's directly related to that, or has who's incredibly fascinated with science in that realm. But you're talking, you haven't done anything like that. It's that's what we're talking about, laziness, is that you don't know the subject. You haven't understood the person you're giving dawah to, what appeals to him, how he's kind of put together, how his reasoning is, and you just throw a tweet together and say, haven't you figured out that there's a giant creator? Right. Like, what kind of giant creator are you talking about? Like,
did he say giant?
Yeah, he wrote, great creator.
Yeah, great. But this is what I'm saying, where when the Rasul would speak to someone, he came to them under a level. Yeah. And you have to know a person before you have to.
You're right.
Right? Because that's sometimes it's one shot. Right? Like, there may be something that comes in. Because, see, especially in that form, because if you see him all the time, this person may witness something you're doing and you have multiple opportunities. Like,
they're
this guy,
when people do something different.
Out of all the things he could have responded to, he responded to this tweet because it was the easiest one for him to respond to. There's no thought in it. Right? It's because the one that would make him think he's going to take his time before he responds to. Yeah. So now you just made him discredit and say, Muslims are just like Christians. They just want to call you and talk about hellfire and just condemn you. That's what he's probably thinking, right? And that's what we say, well, there's no effort in that dawah. He's just simply saying, hey, I'm right, you're wrong, haha, think about it, you're going to go to hellfire. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see the benefit.
And so, adding on to the second layer of the tweet.
Ooh, another layer. Say cake.
Yes.
Speaking of which, did y'all eat yet?
No, I'm starving. I had this bag that I'm trying to eat all of.
Mort, are you going to call in an Uber?
Yeah, I think I should probably do that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you eat? Are you fasting?
No, I'm not. I didn't.
He doesn't fast anymore. He
No,
hardly,
it's like
he hardly
72 hour
fasted in
fast.
Ramadan,
I haven't
dude.
done that yet.
That being said, now we criticize our brother first, but now we're going to criticize Elon and his stupid response.
Screw you, Elon.
So thank you for the blessing, but but I'm okay with going to hell. So if that is indeed my destination, since the vast majority of humans ever born will be there,
He must think hell's like some strip club or something.
I'm curious whether he's taking a shot at Muslims, where maybe he did some studying of Islam and Muslims, where
No.
there's a hadith about how out of 199 will go to hell.
So I think he's doing the math.
The
What he's
Christians
saying is
have the
that
same thing too, right?
no, what he's saying is that like look, every religion, let's be honest, right? It's divided in a third. At some point, almost half of everybody else from a different religion is going to hellfire. Right, the majority. I mean, if you think about it, right, like, look, if all the Muslims were going to put 1.8 billion, the other 6 billion people or 5 billion people are probably going to hellfire, right? Like, so it's just kind of like. So I think same with the Jews. If you are even smaller, right, majority of people are going to hell. So I think he's just doing the numbers, the math numbers, right? But I think his point is that I think what he's trying to say is, to be honest, is that what Maheen mentioned. He doesn't know that hellfire is like. I don't think he believes in it. So for him, it's like, oh, hellfire, that's where the cool people are. You know what I mean? Like, that Jahil kind of thought.
Like detention in school, remember?
Yeah. It's like,
Like
yeah, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, oh, the cool kids go there, right?
You know how, like, when you read the Quran, it talks so much about how, like, they don't even understand the terrible punishment that's ahead for them. And it's so tragic that he has such a.
No, I think he just said that just to get a rise out of this religious guy, because religious guys that in his experience
partly that's
talk
it
about
too.
hell. So if he
Yeah.
says that, he's going to know that I'm going to let this guy know that I don't give a crap about any of this.
Yeah, without a doubt, that there is an element of just minimizing or kind of scoffing at, and this is something that, as we learned while reciting the Quran over Ramadan, that this is a terrible mistake, a terrible penalty that will incur on them for neglecting or ignoring these warnings.
Yeah.
So it's tragic, and he's just one, but there's many non-Muslims, especially in the Western world, who just laugh at this, and they don't even understand what hell is, and what a terrible, like, how incredibly miserable and painful that
you're right.
would be. I mean, hell is hell, right? So I mean, there's no reason for me to add any adjectives to it, but yeah.
What a gangster.
Yeah, so that's one. But speaking of non-Muslims who could possibly go to hell, there was been some notable non-Muslims who have just passed away. One of them being Kevin Samuels. You're a fan of Kevin Samuels, aren't you, Chef?
Bro, I'm not going to lie. I don't know who Kevin Samuels is.
Are you
I'm
serious?
serious. Who's Kevin Samuels, bro? I know Kevin Spacey.
Why is he on a show? Why are we friends with this guy?
Who?
Kevin.
Shaykh Amir.
I actually only know about him. I know about the only. I had never listened to a single thing he said. I only know his name because I was talking about red pill theory once to Ubaydullah Evans, and Ubayd's like, "Oh, you're like Kevin Samuels." I was like, "Who's that?" He's like, "A red pill guy." So apparently, I did a podcast with Gareth Bryan on Sultans on Monday night, and he's like, Kevin Samuels' target market is African Americans, so it's unusual for non-African Americans to really be hip to Kevin Samuels.
Yeah,
Wait, is he that church guy that talks really slow?
No. So let me just break it. Kevin Samuels is a guy that would try to give relationship advice, but in a way that would build black families and the problem is that,
the tweet that you guys shared.
So
That
basically
people thought it
what
was
he
a
would
joke
do
if
is
he died or not.
he focused on men and women, and he would basically give the reality. For example, if you're not a high income earner, if you don't take care of yourself as a man, you're probably not going to get a desirable woman that you want. And if you're a woman and you don't provide value to a man besides just your looks, right? A highly successful man is not going to, he needs more than just your looks, right? And you mean that, what are you providing as a woman to a man? You know, or are you this independent woman who thinks she can do it bossly? Like, he would talk about those relationship things, and he pissed off a lot of women because he would give them the reality. Like, that if you're over 35 and, you know, you think that you know, you can get married
You've
anytime
done
soon.
so, basically.
Yeah, like, you're at the
It's over.
wall. And
you're a dog mom.
Yeah, yeah. And, like, you think
You
that...
make fun of dog
Yeah.
moms a lot.
Yeah, and so yeah, you're a dog mom, you're a cat mom, right? And you think that you're gonna just get, you know, like, and he would just remind them that, listen, women don't have the power to get married. It's men who decide when they commit, not women, right? So he would remind them, like, so what are you doing to attract the man that you want? And it's very interesting because he would do things like talk to them, like all the entitled ones, say, well, what do you want out of life? Like, what do you see yourself in a relationship? I want to, you know, like, you think, oh, you want to, how many kids you want? And they're like, oh, I want 2 or 3 kids. Do you want to take a vacation? How many vacations a year? Let's say 2 or 3 vacations, right? And so you take the age and their body weight, everything, and he'll just ask them. And it's like, hey, you are probably a 7 at best, like, you know, with makeup. And you think that you, and he asked them, what do you think you, I mean, first he'd ask them, what do you think you rate yourself? A lot of them would be like, I'm a 9, I'm a 10, I'm a queen, blah, blah, blah. And he'd tell them, no, actually you're not. And like, what do you have to offer? Right? No, and he was being serious, right? Because a lot of these women, because what's happened is a lot of this woman empowerment thing has led women to believe that even, like, you know, they can be big and fat and it's perfectly fine, right? And like, there's no problem with this. And men should be attracted to it no matter what.
positivity.
Yeah. So he was saying that, okay, but on top of that, now you plus you're 32, 33, you want to have 3 kids. When do you plan on getting married? Do you think that you can just get married tomorrow? Like, no, you don't control marriage. Men control it. They control when they commit to you. Because a lot of them would say, no, I'm focusing on my career right now, blah, 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 blah. So he would remind them, you don't have a say in when you get married. It's men that decide. And as you get older, you're...
But how do you reconcile that? There's a lot of men that are just chasing women because they want to get married to them. They don't care about the qualifications.
I'm saying, listen, men are look, the men that are chasing women to get married are generally not high quality men. A high quality... Because
is that a majority of men are chasing to get...
No, hold on, listen. The kind of men that these women want, I mean, they want to have a nice house, they want to take vacations. These guys have to be earning over $200,000, $100,000 a year, which is even over $200,000 is like 4% of the country, right? I mean, 4 or 5% of the country. So of that, you want to hit men that are single, right? And you are competing.
They probably want someone good looking too.
Yeah, and good, tall, fit, good looking.
And then height messes you. That eliminates a whole bunch of cats.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Me and you're out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
So there's no way.
They don't care about looks. If it's that much money, you don't care about
No, height is important. Height's huge.
No, what I'm saying though is that these women, when you ask about them, this is what they would say they want. Right? But in reality, what they want versus what they offer is, like, he would tell them, what would a high income earner, high value man want from you? What do you provide that's different? Like, oh, I look cute. Like, yeah, but so what? The guy can fly to a foreign country in Brazil right now and pick up a woman for a cup of coffee and look better than you, right? And he's talking from a Catholic perspective, right? So he's saying your looks are not. You have to be what he calls an FBI, which is feminine, like none of this boss lady masculine energy. You have to be feminine energy, beautiful, be attractive, and be inspiring. And you think the problem with many women today is that they want to be this boss woman. They think they control the marriage. They want a partnership. They want to have a say in everything. He's like, men don't find that attractive. High quality men, and he's like, the older you get, the less likely you already have children. And high value men generally want to have children because they want to leave their legacy to somebody. They're not looking to not have kids. And he's like, generally people, and he's talking about the Catholic world, but he says men that have made it before they were broke, when they made it, one of the first things they do is divorce their old wife and they get a new young wife, right? This is generally a trend that you see because they know what they can get, their value, people are chasing them. And likewise, they also want women with children. So anyways, he would say these kinds of things, remind them of the reality of the situation. And he said, I didn't make these rules, but it's just how it is. It's nature. Just like you guys gravitate to men that are tall, who are successful, who have good looks, men have what attracts them too, and you can't change that. So either you get with the program or you die alone and single. And if you're 35, you think if you're 30, you got 5 years to make all this happen. If not, you're at the wall.
So was he considered a very controversial figure?
Yeah, of course he was. Of course he was. Do you think,
Bro,
I want to make sure, bro.
What did you
I've
say?
never heard about this guy.
Yeah, well, so,
until somebody sent those tweets. Look.
So a lot of black women didn't like him.
A lot of women don't like him, right? Or he said like him.
Black women didn't.
they
like
love him? No. So here's the thing. Let
me just tell you this, okay? When someone says red pill, this is how oblivious I am of popular culture and all that stuff on social
here it
media.
goes.
No, I'm being serious. No, dude. When someone says red culture, I just think of the Matrix, bro.
Oh, red pill.
Yeah, I don't care about anything.
At least you
else.
didn't say Tylenol or something.
Yeah, but anyways, go ahead, Mort. You were saying, or Sim, go ahead. So I really don't care about this stuff, but it's
No.
interesting. I am interested.
Well, it's a very large movement. You might not care about it. Obviously, there's
Yeah.
a lot of things you don't have to care about.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
there's, as people in
Just don't have high expectations of me
us
of
being
understanding
people
what's
in
happening.
the media,
But cats were cursing his. They were
we-
like celebrating his death.
yeah, that's
That's
true.
the thing.
They were.
That's what it was. Because it's like they're celebrating his death, and you would have think this dude was out here killing people. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like dictators could be beheading cats like for 30 years, and they don't get this kind of treatment. You know what I mean?
And these people were like rejoicing in this fact that this man died, and all he was trying to do was just give him the truth.
No,
Right?
but not just give him a truth, but he was also improving or trying to improve the condition of the young black male in his
Yeah.
community. You know, I mean, many of what he taught, many of the things he taught, it could be easily applied to many other men just growing up in America. You know,
Sure.
who didn't have fathers and stuff. So
And he would tell like black males, like, hey, if you want to have a high value woman, you need to take care of your fitness. You have to dress a certain way, wear certain colognes, present yourself a way, take care of yourself, earn a certain amount of money, have a plan, be inspired, do things that attract women to you, right? That don't just be, a bum. And so he would equally criticize. It doesn't matter whether you were a man or woman, black, white, Arab. It doesn't matter. If you said something, if his views were against what if you were the negative views or just kind of things that held people down, he would call it out. And he was just brutally honest. And they didn't like that because the problem is many women hated him because he would tell the truth, but they listened to every single episode he did. He would
His
have,
biggest audience was women.
biggest order of women.
Really?
And many women would come in if you go through his text, oh, I used to hate him, but he really opened my eyes to it because they understood what men want. And what they envision of how they're gonna get a man and be in a relationship is not what men are looking for. So either you listen to what men want, and that's how you get a relationship, or you stay single, right? And he would talk to 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, doesn't matter who it is. He would tell them brutally honest about the situation. And granted, he's not like doing it from a Muslim perspective. It's just the regular kafir paradigm, whatever it would be. But a lot of that is relevant, right? Meaning that, hey, what are you providing for your potential spouse, right? If a man can provide money, he's a qawam. From a Muslim perspective, he's religious. He has these things. That's what he's offering you, right? What are you offering him in return? What makes him commit to you, right? And I think these are questions that I think resonated with even non-black people, even other people of different faiths, because these are things that everybody's struggling with.
Did he have a decent Muslim following too?
I think so. I think a lot of people, all of Indians, Europe, everywhere, bro. This guy would go live and he'd get like $3,000-$4,000 and just tips. People love the show.
He wasn't banned on YouTube or nothing?
No, hell no, they loved him. He'd come in and they'd be like, and he was so
Because
crazy.
you would think something like that would YouTube would like flag it for some kind of like
relationship, but the thing is, like, they try to cancel him. They said, "Oh, he hates black women. He hates them." He never did. He never said that, but they always try to cancel him. But you know how crazy it was? If he didn't get enough tips in his video, he would turn the lights off and just play some music that no one liked. Like, I'm not changing until you guys get the likes up or get the money. I need to hit a certain amount of money here. I'm not doing this for free. Yeah. He would just shut, and people would sit there and wait. But come on, guys, do it so we can get the program back on. They were loving his attitude. Like he really owned that space. So that's why he was controversial, because he just was unapologetic for what he believed in. And he would invite guests. Women would just call in, and he would just talk to them, and they would come to him for advice. Even women that were offended, but they would happen to call in because they wanted to hear his opinion. And that's why he was controversial. The left tried to cancel him. He would talk about how the modern church is being taken over by feminism and it's counterproductive and other things like this. He talked about style, talked about presence, talked about attitude, gender, everything like that, but it was unapologetic. And so people didn't like that. They called him red pill, even though he wasn't. But he was really big in the manosphere. But he passed away of a cardiac arrest. He did a live stream the night before. Some woman was at his place. They woke up in the morning complaining of chest pain. She tried to, help him. He fell on top of her. He was still kind of breathing, I think. I heard the 911 call, by the way. So she was trying to get the people to be there, and they were but they couldn't. He was turning blue. She couldn't revive him. Anyway, so he dies, and it was kind of unsure. But then his mom had to find out through social media, like because it was just they took him to the. It was just a mess. But nonetheless, the sad part was to mention is that despite how much you disagree with the man, let's say you made some bad opinions, he wasn't. And by the way, he didn't curse at people, disrespect anybody. He wasn't. He was just very straightforward, right? But these people are happy and rejoicing that a man died. Like, you know what I mean? Just because he was speaking his opinion. And for me, I'm indifferent. He's a kafir. I mean, he's got bigger problems to worry about than just dying of a heart attack. I mean, you got akhirah coming, right? But the fact that you would relish in someone's death, right? Just because you differ in opinion, it's a bit problematic. It shows you how crazy the other side is.
Yeah. If I can just add on to that, I don't know if you guys, Insider had an article about the golden passport dilemma that's happening with Americans. Did you guys read that?
No.
So ever since 2019 to 2021, the amount of golden passports, basically, you guys know what that is, right? It's like basically that you get this. A lot of Americans wanted this second passport, millions of dollars they pay in investment. In return, they get this golden passport where they get a second citizenship and they can invest and they're like secured to a certain level. I don't know the fine details, but that number skyrocketed from like there was this firm that works with it. One of them is a Muslim guy, and he was saying that in the past 30 years, I think, is the amount of people that wanted this golden passport, it went up 300 or 500% just in 2 years. The amount of influential Americans, that have a lot of money are moving out of America, investing out of America because of the turmoil and their lack of hope in what's happening to America. A lot of it has to do with political climate, hate crimes, and like cryptocurrency. And so there's like this crazy, what I understood from the article is it's like this, slow deterioration of like the upper class in America that's moving out and investing in Europe, which is causing some type of trouble. I think you guys didn't hear about that, the golden passport issue and dilemma. It's pretty cool.
No, I mean, look, I don't think it's a shocker. I mean, if you can go, many wealthy people travel out from Europe and America to go live in Dubai when you pay low taxes, right? They go to all the many different places. I mean, this is common. If you have money, you want to protect your wealth, right? And I think, even people like they'll buy citizenships in places like Turkey or whatever, because they have access to that. You know what I mean? Like if you look, taxes, all people who make money, they want to find ways to preserve their money from taxes, right? So they will go wherever they need to do so. Some people move out of America completely and go to certain European places, like, opens the headquarters of the business there, right? They just do that all the time.
But what do you think that means? Like, so the reason I'm saying all this is because there's so much turmoil that people are kind of afraid of, but some of the people mentioned that voiced their opinion relating to his article was some of the people were just like, look, what's happening in the United States, it just seems like there's no such thing as a reality anymore, and everything just seems like this huge facade, right? So do you think that's considered an alarming rate of people leaving the United States that are wealthy?
I think it would be alarming if they gave up the U.S. passport. But if they're not,
some of them I think did.
Yeah, but it's not a majority of them.
No, it's not a majority.
Yeah,
but I'm saying, is that considered something that's alarming for?
I think it's just it's just wealthy people being smart, right? Taking advantage of a situation. Now, if majority of those people were giving up their American passports, I would say that could be something worrying. But just simply by being able to get a passport, I think part of the reason why that is because there's been an exponential growth of wealth too, right? Meaning with cryptocurrencies, with the .com boom. YouTube sensations, right? People are making money from many different avenues now, more so than before. So you have more millionaires, you have more wealthy people, right? And so therefore, they're able to take advantage of their wealth, right? So I think
it's mainly the whole golden passport thing is for the super wealthy. It costs north of $100,000, I think.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
okay.
It's not for majority of people.
Right, exactly. So
I know it was all millionaires that were involved in that.
I think aside from just the money, there's other things that you have to have, certain political connect. Like it's not, you have to know somebody who knows somebody, right? There's certain a sphere of influence you have to have.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. So wrapping things up, Palestinian journalist Shireen Abu Akleh I think I'm pronouncing that right. Recently passed during a
Is it
firefight.
Akle like father eating? Like
I think it's maybe Abdullah.
Agleh?
Akleh.
I don't know. I have to get
Anyway,
it explained.
so she
Was she like famous or something?
she
she
was
was
a,
Al
she was a
Jazeera,
famous
right?
Al Jazeera reporter.
Yeah,
So you knew about it? You know her name before? She
I
No,
didn't.
I didn't know about
Okay.
it.
I didn't.
But
I didn't.
she was well known though. From
Okay.
from the research I did,
Yeah.
people in the Arab world were
Yes.
really knew her
Okay.
And
because
people-
she came on the Arabic channel,
Right.
Not the English.
But she's an American citizen.
She's an American
Yeah,
citizen.
American citizen.
American citizen, but also Christian too. So she was shot in the head under very mysterious, at least from the way Israelis are trying to frame it as, that it was mysterious. We don't know exactly who shot what. They're first trying to pin the blame on the Palestinians that, oh, it could have been the Palestinians firing, but multiple sources on the ground corroborated against that kind of narrative that the Israelis were trying to spin. And it turned out that Israel couldn't even weasel their way out of this one, and they're just not responding anymore. They're just saying,
Killing
you know what,
journalists.
it's just impossible to determine who is responsible for it. Israel's defense ministry released a statement similar to that, basically saying that, oh yeah, we just can't determine who was responsible for it. They're going to protect their IDF soldiers, and one of their IDF soldiers spending time in prison is not doesn't outweigh the life of a Palestinian, no matter what religion
Dude, I
she
think
belongs
ISIS
to.
didn't even kill journalists, right?
Yeah,
I think
probably
ISIS.
did.
They didn't.
They
I
killed
think-
American. The
I think-
photographer guy too. They killed him. I mean, yeah. There's
I mean, look, maniacs are maniacs. Doesn't matter whether they're Israelis or Muslims. But
The reason why I said that is because it's just understood that you don't kill journalists, right? No matter who you are.
yeah, if you're smart, if you want them on your side, if you want,
He's not on your side. It's just an internationally understood
well,
thing
no,
that
the
you
Western
don't kill the
government doesn't
messenger.
care. I mean, they were trying to get out. They're trying to get rid of Bilal Abdul Karim, bro. I mean,
No,
they
no,
didn't
of
care.
course. They're tyrants, of course.
yeah.
But I'm saying how Israel just gets away with that so easily.
Yeah, I mean, Israel and
Weasel.
America tried to do that too, to Bilal Abdul Karim and other journalists as well. But the Russians are notorious for this as well.
Oh, hell yeah.
The Russians do poisoning. You know, their operations. They've studied poisons since World War II. They've been very. Actually, I think it goes beyond that. I think it goes into the 1800s. But they have a long history where they've understood poisons to a very deep extent, and they still to this day, unabashedly, without any repercussions of any sort, they poison people, political opponents.
Wow.
Yeah, there was recently a Russian billionaire that they poisoned. He ended up recovering though. Yeah, so
Who's going to bring them
Like,
to
I
justice?
didn't know
No one-
poison was still a thing. I thought it was like from the times of like the Ottomans when they
Right?
would poison like Sultan. They foamed at the mouth.
Sultan, what was his name? Kokobe?
Sneakers? Oh.
Oh, that was Sultan Aladdin got poisoned.
Aladdin. Yeah, I can't remember his last name.
Keikobat.
Yeah, Keikobat.
Yeah.
What's so funny, Chef?
No, it's interesting. how you
That's
guys
the only
know these
history.
names.
Only history I know
wish I
about
knew
it,
some of
if it's on
these
TV.
It all sounds like
But-
it sounds like Kefta kebabs.
Yeah.
Sultan Kefta kebabs.
But I think the reason I think we want to talk about her right now is basically like,
Yeah.
okay, so it was a pretty jacked up thing that the Israelis did.
Yeah.
Right. Now she's dead. She's a Christian. She lived as a Christian. And now we got Muslims now like trying to like justify making dua for her, and some people I think were praying janazah. Now, I honestly, when I first heard about her, I figured she was just a Muslim, right? I didn't know she was a Christian until later, right? But now there's like confusion because it's alluded to earlier is that some people are saying that that the prohibition against making dua for a deceased disbeliever is only to grant them entrance into paradise, to forgive for forgiveness. But there's a permissibility in asking for their mercy based upon the narration of Abu Talib being in the more lenient part of the hellfire, right, where his like brains are boiling, right? Is that the one? Is that,
He's wearing sandals
He's-
that are hot
that's
enough for his
rockets.
That's
brain.
the least severe punishment.
It's severe, and then also the commandment to be merciful. That you ask Allah to be merciful upon your parents as they were merciful upon you when you were small. and it does not. And their argument is that there is no restriction on faith with his parents.
Okay.
So
Wait,
yeah.
so before you answer, Sheikh, can I just say this?
Can you stop calling me that, bro?
But by the way, the screen is reflecting the.
Oh, you actually put the name there. Wow.
Why?
You-
He's
wow.
public. He's
public. He put it up.
Well, it's called public, bro. You see that globe?
Wow.
You see this globe before you? Can you calm down?
Pissed
Can you calm
off
down?
half of Bridgeview, bro.
No, it's a
up.
big globe there, right there.
Okay.
You see next to the post.
No, I don't really care.
It says
But
public.
listen, so
He's being sarcastic.
let me just make my point though, and then just Sheikh can continue on his train of thought and give us the fiqh ruling since he loves studying fiqh. I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna say what I feel. Okay, I was concerned when I thought she was a Muslim, and when I found out she wasn't a Muslim, I'm like, it's sad, but I don't really care. She's probably going to hellfire. She's a kafira. Oh well, right? I mean, I got more Muslim brothers to worry about than a dead kafira.
You would think she's probably going to hellfire. We're not saying she is.
I think she's probably going to hellfire, right? I'm saying she probably is, most likely is, right? But I'm saying
Or you mean you feel sad that she is?
no. I feel sad that she was innocent. I mean, she got shot, but I'm not gonna waste my time over a kafira, right? I'd rather weep over a Muslim brother, like or
Look,
sister.
I don't think both are mutually exclusive. That you can only,
Well, for me, it is. I mean, I don't really care about the dead.
I'm not saying even. Look,
Hey.
it's a sad thing that happened. She was someone who was capturing a lot of tragedies for Palestinians and for
of
our
course.
Muslim brothers.
I
You
think
could-
it's sad, but I'm not gonna waste any more breath on it. I mean that, hey, if you were a Muslim, it means a lot more to me.
No, I get that. I get
That's
I get that.
That's my honest to God
Yeah,
feeling, right?
yeah.
That when I found out, I just kind of said, well, I'm not gonna tweet about it anymore. I'm done. Like
Yeah.
if you were Muslim, I'd be blowing it up on Twitter. You know what I mean? But if you're not, now that I know you're not, whatever.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it happened. I'm sad. I mean, it's a bad thing to happen, but I'm not gonna waste my breath over it. I have many other Muslim causes to worry about than that.
No, I get it. I get what you're trying to say.
Yeah, so continue, Sheikh. Now give us the 50 ruling.
No, it's
Can
not
we
about
pray
50 ruling.
Salatul Janazah and Ghaib tonight
No.
for this Abu Akale?
No, look, bro. Look. Just to be serious into this, right? Rasulullah always felt sad, and he taught us this to feel sad for those people who didn't enter the fold of Islam, especially if they did lots of services for people and services. We actually do, right? Even that we know of the janazah that went by, and Rasulullah stood up, and the Sahaba said, "Ya Rasulullah, it's a mushrik." He said, "No, it's just a human that I'm,
respect the dead, right?
respect the human being, right?" So we get that. We understand that that's there, and that sadness should be there because we want everyone to go into Jannah. The dilemma that I have, number one, is with saying that you're just doing dua for lessening the hell for this individual, right? For better lack of terms, just to make it more simple. So you're agreeing that they're going to hell, right? You're understanding that this person is going to hell for sure. That's what you're actually saying.
The irony.
And then we're just going to lessen it. That lessening thing, that was only specifically for the honoring of Rasulullah, right? And and for Abu Lahab also. Or
Abu
whatever
Talib.
hadith. No, there's also a hadith about Abu Talib, right? Abu Lahab. It's originally in him being given chances because of his connection to Rasulullah.
So
in his life.
So somebody asked me because they thought that the Sheikh's ruling was like general, and I was like, no, it's specific. And he's like, why is it specific?
Because only for the hadith are very, very clear is because of his connection to Rasulullah.
The hadith about Abu Talib.
The
Okay.
hadith about Abu Talib and everything about the life of Rasulullah. Look, even Abu Talib. When Rasulullah had a stance with Abu Talib, there's a beautiful, I haven't memorized it, but we can actually post it in the notes. Abu Talib comes to Rasulullah and he says, whatever you're doing, continue doing it. As long as I'm alive, I'm not going to allow anybody on this soil or on this sand to harm you. And what you're doing is right. He agreed everything Muhammad was saying right.
Yeah.
So he knew, look at this, he knew what Muhammad was saying was right.
Mm-hmm.
But the punishment that's given in Jannah, which was very, very Jannah, which Rasulullah was not easy for him to say, because he said, "I'm going to protect you. I'm going to make sure your dawah thrives." Is in essence what he was saying.
Right.
Is even he couldn't be saved,
Mm-hmm.
and he knew. So what was the wisdom of Muhammad going to him at the end of his life? Say, just profess it to me, so I have a case between you and me and Allah, right?
Right.
Just say it to me. No one else has to hear it. I just have to hear it.
Right.
So Muhammad knew that this was the truth.
Yeah. Yep.
He was fully convinced,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't profess it with his lips and his tongue.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So this individual who was a protector of the best of creation, who understood who Allah was, who understood the da'wah, he's like, you're right. Everything you're doing to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what you're doing is right. Right? But he still didn't profess. This is specifically the punishment that was given to Abu Talib was because Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's no other reason. So what the Sheikh was mentioning in the post, he was just talking about mercy, right? And mercy in the lifetime of people when they're living for non-Muslims. When we say the word forgiveness, when you say you ask forgiveness for this person while they're alive, the non-Muslim, what that actually means in Islamic context is that you're asking for their hidayah. Our dua is only for their hidayah because that's all they need.
Right.
Nothing else is more valuable than that. Look at the Jews. The Jews were actually very tricky. You know what they actually used to do to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? They're actually very intelligent.
Assalamu alaikum.
No, not only assalamu alaikum. They used to go in front of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and sneeze.
Ooh.
So Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would say yarhamakallah,
Allah.
but he didn't say yarhamakallah. He'd say yahdikumullah yuslih balakum. May Allah guide you. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew what they were up to, because if he said yarhamukallah, then they would be saved.
Right. So wait. Let me.
Because no, but the reason I said it is because they knew that they could stay
but
Jews
let me ask you a
and
question.
get Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's rahmah, because
Right.
they knew that would be Jannah for them.
Right. So, but let me ask you. So, is this is? I just want to confirm what I know. So, is it true that basically, let's say there's a sick kafir, right, and you want to make dua for their shifa, right? As long as you couple that with their hidayah, the dua has to be coupled with hidayah
Yes.
first. Because
Or you can
hidayah-
say, oh Allah, give them shifa so they recognize you and they get hidayah from you, ya Allah.
right. But I'm saying hidayah has to
It
be
has to
coupled
be.
with whatever
It
dua
has
you
to
make.
be.
with
Yes. Yes. In essence, that's why we do. If there's a non-Muslim friend of ours and we really, really want them to be Muslim, we're gonna,
Alhamdulillah, I don't have any kafir friends.
yeah. So that's fine. But so
It depends on Mahin's good days and bad days, but other than
So, and the reason why I think that this is really, really important, look, guys, in Surah At-Tawbah, Allah is very, very clear when He says, "La tusalli alayhim," right? Don't pray upon them, and don't stand at their graves. He's being
So
very,
don't go
very
to
clear.
don't go to their funerals.
Outwardly on the verse is what He's saying. There's a little more context to this, right?
Okay.
But yes, but one thing that we have to understand is that imagine you have a Muslim friend whose mother is not Muslim or whose father is not Muslim, right?
Right.
Now, this is where it gets very, very difficult. But look at the example of Nuh alayhi salam, right? I was just listening to the surah, just
Allahu
listening to
Akbar.
Minshawi, right? Just to give it its value the way it's supposed to be recited. You don't have a little bias, right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling, first He gives us the scenario of what's happening.
Yeah.
The amwaj, the waves that are bigger than mountains, or seem to be like mountains. And Nuh alayhi salam is telling his son that jump onto the boat, you have hope here.
Yep.
But Allah is telling us the mindset, the lack of tawakkul, which is why his son didn't become Muslim. He said, no, I'm going to go and hold on to the mountain and be saved. And Nuh alayhi salam says, son, there's no saving from this. Right? So then he summons Allah. He says, Ya Allah, my son min ahli, he's from me. What's Allah's reply?
Allahu Akbar.
Innahu laysa min ahlik. He's not your child. He's not your child. Even though he's biologically his child.
Right.
Right? And then he says what? He says to Nuh, Ya Nuh, don't ask me about something that you
Nuh
don't have
pleaded-
knowledge about.
Yeah, Nuh pleaded to him.
Yes,
says,
he
"But
pleaded
Allah,
to
He
him.
told me, my family.
Yes.
Yeah.
He said, don't ask me of knowledge that you don't understand. Right? And then Nuh alayhi salam, right then he summons Allah for forgiveness. Ya Allah, astaghfirullah, Ya Allah, I'm going to say Ya Allah, Ya Allah, please, I will not ask you again for something I don't know, and please forgive me, right? Why is he saying this? Allah is telling us that this closeness that you have with human beings, it's very important. And it helps a lot if your deen and your connection of Allah is infused in this relationship. But never be mistaken, your relationship with Allah is much, much closer to your own progeny and up, meaning that your own parents, right? That's the first thing. It's much more important. The second is, after that, because of your rahmah, don't be deceived in thinking that you can do and make dua for these people. That's Allah's business.
Or that you're more merciful than Allah.
Exactly.
Right.
And you know, we're talking about hell and all that kind of stuff, right? Obviously, when we give da'wah, we have to be careful in how we talk about it. But whoever said hell wasn't a mercy? We know that everything Allah creates is a mercy. So someone could say hell is stripped of. No. Jahannam is one of the greatest mercies that exist, and it has to exist because Allah is just. right? How Stalin and Hitler, if there's no Jahannam, let's say, and there's no Jannah, let's say it was Akhirah, like atheists believe, then where's the justice of all these people that got away with murdering innocent people? Where's their justice? The second is that there is rahmah from Allah, and we know that there's rahmah from Allah because Allah allows non-Muslims or kuffar to flourish in this world. All the endeavors that they have, the du'as that they make, they don't realize they're asking Allah. They're neglecting Allah, but they're still hoping that they get, and they're getting lots of mercy. They're getting all the riches. They're getting all these reputation. I mean, think about this non-Muslim woman. Think about how much reputation she earned. Amongst that was from Allah. Allah's merciful.
Or Elon Musk.
Or Elon Musk. All these people, right? Even the
They
people.
go to the hellfire.
No, but look at the hellfire thing we'll talk about. But all these people that neglect Allah, look how much popularity Allah gives them. I don't like to mention these people's names, but look like Sam Harris. The number one neglector of Allah, Allah allows him to become popular. That's how merciful Allah is, right? And if he repents, Allah's going to forgive him, right?
But wait. Well, before you go there, hold on. But there's an ayah in the Quran where Allah says He allows them to play for a while,
He does.
so they
In order to increase their punishment.
So, yeah,
Yes, of course.
punish them.
But it doesn't matter. But
Fire,
the
baby.
main thing is, do they, wherever they go, do people recognize them? Do people, give them donations? Do people set the stage for them? Of course they do. Do they have wealth in this world? Of course they do.
See, I'm a big fan of justice, so I like his fire part, the voting
Okay,
part.
so listen, check this out, bro. So, fighting fire with fire, I get it. So
Yeah, I mean, I listen. Honestly, listen. You know why I feel that way? Because listen, honestly, and I'm being quite. People think I'm being like trolling. I'm not trolling. Listen, I feel that honestly, Allah gives people so many chances. The Quran mentions so many chances for them.
no, you're right.
And so when that person is condemned to the hellfire, they deserve every single.
But that's
piece
not
of
the
it.
issue that people are having trouble with, because look,
No,
what
but-
people are having issues with is the fact that this person did so much good. How can Allah send them to
Yeah,
hell?
but this is what I'm trying to say. So, but what I'm saying is that for us to know that when you die upon shirk billah and you reject Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are deserving of hellfire and everything that comes to you. That should be enough.
No, I understand that, but Mort, this is what I'm saying. Is that now the hellfire thing that many people got, like we could tell from the post, but now they're saying, why can't we make dua for this person? Maybe it'll help.
But okay,
It'll be
but you mentioned
easy
yeah,
layer.
but I think you just
level of
mentioned Abu Talib, right?
Yeah.
And we know that was you just mentioned you clarified that it was specific for the Prophet,
Yeah.
and this was probably because Allah felt the grief of the Prophet.
But
But
did
how
he
do you
do
know
that?
that? Because the Sheikh's
But did
using
he
the
do
proof.
dua? Was he allowed to do dua for Abu Talib after he passed away?
No.
He was not allowed to.
Allah, that's what I'm trying
But
to say. Allah
if-
gave him a favor to do that to him, but he said from this point on, you can't make dua for him or any of the non-Muslims.
Yes, and he said, "La tusalli alayhi." Don't do salah upon them. Don't stand upon their graves. Right?
Yeah.
But look, all of that is we do understand the human sensitivity issue. Look, imagine somebody who was Muslim and their mother is non-Muslim, bro. That is something very, very difficult.
Sure.
But the ajr, we have to give light to the end of the tunnel of our convert brothers and sisters, right? Is those people who stay patient and they continue believing in Allah and they follow the commandments of Allah. Those type of people are with the prophets, because the prophets, look at Ibrahim alayhi salam, right? After the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, Allah gave him a allotted time to ask for guidance of Azar, right? We could talk about difference of opinion, was it his uncle or his father, until Yom al Qiyamah.
whatever.
That's never going to
As
end.
with the
Right,
figure,
right?
right?
Yes.
Right.
So we'll just use the word father for right now, because that's what the tafsirs in the Quran used, right? But after that, after he knew that he was not going to get hidayah, then he stopped doing dua for him, Ibrahim alayhi salam.
Qalu salama.
Yeah, that's it. So the other aspect is that to our convert brothers and sisters, right? No converts probably listen to our podcast anyway, but
I think
Actually,
Joe
I'll-
does.
Ali's
I
on.
think Joe does.
So but the thing is that their reward is they have to understand that if their parents die non-Muslims and their patience, is it difficult for Allah to put them with the Nabiyyin that stayed patient with their family members that didn't become Muslim? No, they're at that same level of patience of what Allah is giving us examples of prophethood, right? So we have to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's his business. What happens after somebody passes away? While they're alive, do as much dua, do as much da'wah. But at the end, Allah is the turner of hearts. And what happens to them after they pass away is only Allah's business. That has nothing to do with us.
You know, there's a wisdom in this.
Yeah.
I don't want to go off tangent, but anyways,
But here's the thing. I want to ask you. So, because obviously I can't relate. None of us can relate to, because we're not converts, right? Converts who have like parents who are not
Yeah,
Muslim,
of
right?
course. We'll never understand that.
We'll never understand, right? You hear about things that in general we cannot condemn. My understanding is there's always we might go to paradise and there will be like Jim from The Office will be there who never become. I was like, what are you doing here, man? Kind of thing. You don't know because there's like specific cases where they might. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about?
So the Ash'ari, they're of the opinion that the general rule of everybody who doesn't accept Islam is not going to heaven.
Right.
Is a person of hell.
Right.
Right? Then the differentiation is somebody ever heard about Islam or not heard about Islam, all of that. But what the Ash'aris, from what I understand, Wallahu alam, what they say is, in matters of Aqidah and Jannah and Jahannam, is that the general rule is whoever doesn't accept La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah is not a person of heaven. It's up to Allah, whatever decision He wants to make on Yawm al-Qiyamah,
Right.
who's going to enter Jannah and who's going to enter hell. Cool? But even if that is the understanding, right? And that's generally the understanding of all Muslims and all of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, everybody combined generally, right? Because if you're meddling into even thinking you know who's going to into Jannah from the non-Muslims, that's Allah's business. That's nowhere near your territory. You have to know your place.
So,
Right?
so with that being said, is it appropriate for that person, the Muslim child, not make dua, but like have this hope in their heart that maybe my parents are going to get off the hook?
Allahu alam, I don't know, man. I think everybody hopes that. That's a
But
human
wait,
thing.
I'm-
No, but after they're
asking
dead,
Allah now.
is they're not making dua, they're not actualizing it. But is there a deficiency? Is that like a spiritual deficiency kind of thing? You know what I mean?
No, I think we have to separate that.
You
There's a
understand?
human element to this,
Right.
but
Because it would be sinful because it's not like they're not actualizing it, right?
no, of course they're not.
You
That's
know,
why. That's why I think it's not. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not an
desiring
easy
is
thing.
different than asking.
That's a human element that I wish my parents. I hope Allah. Like that's a human desire that you wish that you're going to see your parents in Jannah. I mean,
Right,
who wouldn't,
right.
But then saying and finding that it's okay. Look, that's why I said the general layperson is not responsible for what they believe anymore if they're going to follow what somebody says.
Right.
What some scholar says now. Right? The scholar has to obviously answer for that.
It's your fault if you don't refute him, though.
No, it's not my fault at all.
Yeah, you gotta correct it. You gotta correct the battle, bro.
Whatever, dude. You know what I'm saying?
You just
But-
can't leave Sheikh Hamza by himself. He's like,
No, I agree
he's
with-
putting his neck out there.
No, I agree with Sheikh Hamza. I agree with him 100%.
You know.
I agree because it's not about mercy. It's
Right.
about Allah's business, bro. This doesn't mean that you're not merciful because you believe that kafirs are going to Jahannam. That's Allah's business, bro. It has nothing to do with us.
Right.
We should feel sad. Where our part comes in is we should feel sad that somebody didn't enter Islam and died. That's where our part comes in.
Right.
But don't confuse this element of mercy with what Allah's business is.
Right.
It's not personal. Like, will a non-Muslim? We hope that non-Muslims aren't reprimanded for not doing their own Christian version of dua for us if we die Muslims.
Right.
Right? A Christian wants you to be a Christian too.
Yeah.
And more respect to him. He should believe that. Right? If he truly believes in Christianity. But we're not going to expect some Christian to come out and say, oh, you know, we shouldn't expect him or pressure him to be like, oh, we hope that Jesus sends him to heaven or something. No, dude, no Christian is going to be asked to do that. No
Right.
Jew is going to be asked to do that.
That's like Sheikh Hamza said too. It's like this woman, she'd be offended that we're giving to her the Islamic rights of like our verbiage.
Probably not.
In a
I
way.
mean,
No.
all
makes sense.
No,
inclusivity and stuff.
wait a minute. Well, I don't understand. Like this is what's mind-boggling to me, dude. Fine, she did some good things. Hey, well, I mean, I feel nice about it. But dude, you died, right? You had your chance. This world is nothing compared to Akhirah. You had your chance to fix it and make it rectify that, and you chose something different. Now you pay for your choices, right? I'm saying, sure, it's sad that an event like that happens. My point is that to the point where you're just praying Salatul Janazah for her. You're going over backwards.
Yeah.
Did these same people go bend over backward for the Indian Muslims right now that are dying? The Uyghur Muslims, are they doing the same thing for them? Are they praying Janazah and Ghaib for them? For the Muslims that are dying there?
Yeah.
So that's why you don't move me with this bullcrap emotional stuff. So what? She's a kafira. She died. She did some good things. Who cares?
Yeah.
Right? I'm saying, like, at the end of the day, I have no wala with them. Sure, I can feel bad for her family. Fine, it's unjust. It shouldn't have
Allah gives
happened.
them hidayah, you know?
Yeah. I'm saying, even at a point, if her family wants to get justice, I support them getting justice.
Of course,
This
justice is justice.
This
Yeah.
is an
Of course.
unsanctioned killing. It's a
course.
murder. I get that.
It's a humanity
But
issue.
I don't feel bad for this person. Meaning that, in the sense that, okay, it's sad that the news is sad, but I'm not going to go out of my way now because this is specifically a kafirah. And that's my bottom line. Muslims should have an attitude that, listen, and there's a certain extent we can go to for a kafirah. Say your condolences, wish the family has patience, whatever it may be. Beyond that, shut your trap. It's done. She has bigger problems to worry about than being shot by a bullet now. Like, if you really cared about her, you would have hoped she's still alive right now so she's not burning in hellfire, right? I mean, those are things that you have to worry about, right? The punishment in the grave, things like that. Like, and I'm saying, like, there's just bigger issues to worry about than, I get it. It's but why do Muslims have to, that one person, there's been many people that have died in Al-Aqsa in the last month too. Are they?
Yeah, look. There's again, the human element is there, right? That somebody who did a lot for the Palestinians, we get it, right? That's where their emotion actually is, if you really think about it. That's why they're very riled up, because this individual represented them. When no one else, let's be real about this, they're not getting representation the way they're supposed to, right? Especially in their eyes, someone who's living in
That's
Palestine.
true.
I get it.
On a side note, though, Mort mentions this a lot. This whole like SJP pro-Palestinian freedom liberation movement is itself a religion. That they think they're above Islam.
Like, I'll be honest with you, if George Galloway passed away, they'd probably put janaza for him too. I wouldn't care. He's a dead kafir, bro.
Allah, I don't know. Some people say he's secret Muslim.
Oh, if he did it,
I hope he is.
But I'm saying, listen, outwardly,
Allah give me that.
Well, look, my favorite non-Muslim, is at least the one that I was attached to the most for the
George
longest. No, it's Noam Chomsky.
Oh,
And
He's still alive, though. He's
like, I make dua for him, you know, like that.
yeah, but I'm saying
he received
that's
guidance, but
different.
even.
Look,
But I'm saying, like
different.
if he died,
I wouldn't
if
wish.
he no, if you died, look, I get it, like the way you, I don't give a bleep attitude, but I would genuinely feel sad that he's not going to Jannah.
Of course.
Like
yeah.
I don't
Because
understand
you benefited a lot from
why
it.
that's so strange for you.
No,
Mort, that-
mashallah, you guys are but I feel like once you die, man, that's it. You're destined. Your qadr was to be a kafir and die.
You don't think the Prophet felt
I'm sure he did.
that he felt sad
for his relatives,
for
yeah.
Abu Talib,
I believe he
or
felt
his
for his relatives, but I mean, for every single person that died a non-Muslim, I don't know. But I'm saying, just,
Yeah, but people you care about, right? Like,
But I'm saying,
similarly,
how do
people
you
who
care
are
about-
very
yeah, but
very-
I'm saying
so
Noam
people who
Chomsky-
are
Look,
very
Mort is
attached
very
to the
black and
Palestinian.
white.
no, I'm saying Noam Chomsky is the guy you listen to.
No,
you don't know that. You don't actually know the guy.
Yeah, but for the Palestinian activists who are involved in those circles, it's something that
No, there is a
they're very
human
passionate
element to
about.
it.
I don't know,
Maybe you're not
I'm just
resonating
saying,
with it.
you're
Look,
coming across as very like harsh right now.
I'm
Mort.
saying this right
No,
now,
he
bro.
just showing you-
Listen, no,
I'm
because
just telling you
this is
what-
how I genuinely feel. I'm saying, listen, even this Palestine movement, most as a bunch of secular people who just end up, you don't know what they want to do with Palestine. It's not a religious thing.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here for a moment. It's for a flag. They want Palestine for Jews, Christians, atheists, anybody, gays. They don't care. This is just a secular movement.
Yeah.
Why am I
I
sad
get that.
about that?
I
So
get
I'm
that.
saying, no, hold on. Let me make my point. You made this sound harsh. I'm being harsh because it's a harsh reality. That these people they're not really in your interest. If you told them that we want Islamic Palestine with the Khilafah flag over it, with Sharia law, you think that person would care about having
heck
Palestine
no.
free?
Heck no.
So why do I care about her?
Yeah.
Who's she fighting for? For the guy to drink beer in the middle of Al-Aqsa? I don't care about that, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No, I get it.
stop it being like the bad man. We have our focus as Muslims. Get your focus right. She means nothing to me, bro.
Yeah.
She's a dead kafir at the end of the day. She might have done some good things, but she ain't nothing to me, bro. That's my bottom line.
This joint's going viral. I know
Yeah,
that.
I'm saying, bro, it's just how I feel, bro.
Hey, Mort made a lot of dua before this episode. That weird conversations,
right.
bro.
Hey, do we have to talk about abortion or we got to pass?
We gotta go after someone up.
That's
Roe v. Wade, baby.
Jesus, 10:53.
Yeah, we gotta go after
CST.
someone
Oh,
up.
we're hungry
Alright,
too.
that's our show for this evening. Thank you all for visiting. We'll see y'all next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Sorry if I yelled at you guys. I'm serious, but I still love you.
We all love you more.
It's
coming from a good place, man.
I really feel it. I think it's just facade.
The people in the chat are like getting
I
upset.
don't get mad. I don't give a damn, bro. You think I care?
bro. Like you said, that's how it's
Look, we have to be honest about it, bro. No, I'm not saying it just to be provoked.